let you go home. Okay, no, just go. Go, you're right. 9:37. Public Auditor BJ Cruz joins the show now. Good morning, Public Auditor.
Good morning, Chris.
Wow, so aren't you just pissing everybody off this year? That's good. You know what my mom used to tell me? If you're making people mad, maybe you're doing something right. Of course, you could be doing something wrong too, but usually you want to hope you're doing something right. And let's just get right into it with the public auditor. He had come out and barred a company from bidding on GovGuam projects. That's accurate, right, BJ?
Well, I issued an order debarring. They're on appeal, so it's on hold. But the order.
And then this is relative to this. Is it SH Enterprises or SNH?
SH Corporation.
SH Corporation. So they already had a contract, and then they allowed the governor free of charge use of the old Hakubotan building in Tamuning for the War Claims Processing Center. And then I believe a short while after that, they won another contract. The big contracts too. And so the public auditor had come out and said that was a gift, right?
Well, it is a gift. The question is, the argument was whether it was how much the value was, and whether or not the statute allows the governor to receive gifts. And there is a statute that specifically allows the governor to receive gifts. But my contention is that nowhere in that statute does it say that the governor is allowed to receive gifts from vendors, which in other parts of the statute of the law, in the procurement law, prohibits anyone from giving gifts to the government if you're a vendor. And you know, this is nothing new, Chris. I mean, I don't know if you listened to Thai eulogy of Jyoti St. Augustine last week.
I caught some of it. But
during the eulogy, he recounts a story of Jyoti as the director of administration after he had come back with his master's degree from Georgetown. The first Christmas, they were having a Christmas party. You know, the old Christmas party they used to have in the DOA building in the 70s and 60s. And he came out of his office and he found cases of beer being lugged in, cases of soda and water and food being brought in. And he asked, where's this all coming from? And the reply from one of the employees was, from our vendors. And Jyoti's immediate reaction was, shut it down, take all the food up to GMH and feed the patients and the nurses. And what soda and water can't be utilized up at the hospital, give to government house, but it's not going to be used in this department. It's unethical to receive gifts from vendors. And I've tried to stress that. That was made by Jyoti almost 60 years ago. Wow. 2 Christmases ago, you remember you guys were giving me grief about the fact that I issued an order from this office that said, reminded everybody that the statute says that you're not to solicit or accept gifts from vendors, nor is the vendor supposed to offer or give a gift to any government official. And in this case, they signed an affidavit that said that at no point before they received the bid and during the part that they had the bid, did they give any gifts to the government, any government official, and that they were not going to be giving any gifts throughout the period of the contract and even into the warranty period. And that's clear in the statute and it's clear in the affidavit. And again, the affidavit doesn't have an exemption unless you're giving it to the governor for a very worthy cause. And I feel for it because, I mean, to me, it was a very worthy cause. Yes, it was the War Claims Office, and I'm probably the one living member of the commission that ordered the payment that took 16 years to finally realize. So I was excited about it, but I am now the public auditor, and in spite of how magnanimous and gracious that gift was, it cannot and should not continue, and vendors have got to stop doing that because it looks bad. It may not have, it may be completely innocent, but in this case, as you put it, in September of 2019, the bid went out. In November, they got the bid for $3.7 million. In late November, early December, they were talking about the Hakubotan building, and the governor's office called them about the need, or at least that's the testimony, that they called them about whether or not the Hakubotan building was available, and they decided to let them have it for 2 weeks. They gave it for 2 weeks, and it came out in the paper. And so Basil, who had already filed an appeal on the first, on the award of the contract in November, was before the public auditor's office already in one case. And then in January, when that news report came out that they were at the Hakubotan building for free, they FOIA'd the information, and when they found out that it was for free and it was to the governor's office, and that there was negotiations between the two for it, they filed another protest with Claudia, asking that SH be debarred for violating their contract from November, their IFB, and their bid affidavit. And within 1 day, without meeting with the AG, she denied the request by Basil, and so Basil rightfully appealed it to this office.
Right. Now, let me just get in here, BJ, real quick. So what BJ is referencing is Chief Procurement Officer Claudia Foggi had received a protest from a competing bidder, Basil. This company, Basil, they have done food services. That's a lot. These food services contracts, guys, are big money. But anyway, Basil had done a contract with where they had filed the protest, but the chief procurement officer had said that it wasn't a gift, that it was a donation, and that the governor was able to receive donations, right? So
yes,
yeah. So there was that kind of one and done. She did that in a day, and then they appealed it to you, and then you said no, the gift is a gift. And you barred them from what again? Can you give us the details of your?
I debarred them from being able to, and suspended their ability to be able to contract with the government for a year, but that's up on appeal. And the reason why this office, if you read the decision, Chris, if the reason why I felt that the office had to intercede in this case is because the government and SH read the statute to say that the only thing that this office can do is deal with an appeal from a vendor who's been debarred to see if the debarment was fair and in the best interest of the government. And I'm insisting that the reverse of that is also true. If the OPA has the authority to review a debarment by the CPO, we should be able to also review a decision by the CPO not to give a debarment, because otherwise there'd be no place for a aggrieved vendor to go. If the CPO just, as a matter of course, denies it, then it'll never get to this office under their reading of the law. But under my reading of the law, the statute, the procurement statute at the very beginning says the jurisdiction of the Office of Public Accountability shall be used to protect the integrity of the procurement system. And that's what we're doing with this decision, is that we're not going to let them get away with the reading that the OPA can only review a debarment, but we should also be able to review a denial of a debarment if there is basis for that. And in this case, 3 weeks after the office opened, they got a $5.9 million contract to DOC. And so it just looked bad and it smelled bad. And this practice has to stop so that people feel comfortable about procurement and the procurement process in the government, and they're dealing fairly with the people. And my concern is not esoteric or academic or a possibility. There was a case filed later on in the year where in the pleadings, the petitioner states straight up front, the bidder that won, in spite of the fact that his bid was the highest, won the bid because of their relationship with somebody in Adelaide.
So, BJ,
it's real. People are out there realize that, or they believe that if you give gifts to AdLoop, that you can get away with things and win bids in the other agencies. And so the narrow reading that CPO and the AG has, that is only if it was a gift to the agency that was doing the procuring, that's garbage. You'd have to be naive, or I won't say the word, I was raised not to say it when describing other people, to believe that giving a gift to people on top is not going to, or possibly could be seen as being able to incur or engender favors someplace else.
Right. So what's going to happen next, BJ? Because the AG came out and said that you don't have the authority, right? So is SH barred or are they not barred? And is this going to go to the courts?
Of course, the opinion at the very end reads that all the parties have 14 days within which to appeal it to the Superior Court. And so it'll go to the Superior Court for its review, and maybe because of the amount of money that's involved in this, it'll probably go up to the Supreme Court. But I think it's important that it's done, because the lesson has to be learned, and vendors have to understand that they cannot and should not be giving gifts.
But if they do, the chief procurement officer is going to say it's okay, and then the AG is going to get her back.
Hopefully not, but but if that happens, then it can be appealed here, and we'll deal with it. But the law is very clear that you're not supposed to, and it says de minimis. It doesn't break it down that it has to be more than $5,000, and nothing in the law that gives the governor the authority to receive gifts says that there's an exception with vendors. The law in the procurement statute, as it relates to ethics and procurement, is vendors are not supposed to, and government officials are not supposed to receive. And there's no exception for the governor in that section, and there's no exemption in the authority, the statute that gives the governor authority to receive gifts, that it can be from vendors. And my position is, if you're not a vendor of the government, if you're a Christian function and you have no business with the government of Guam, you can give anything you want. But as soon as you have a contract with the government to do something, you should not, because the ethics statute prohibits it. and you could be held to account for violating the law.
Right on. Well, BJ, thank you. I get it. I do. It's pretty basic, really. You can't give gifts, and I mean, when you do, it gives the impression that those gifts affect the outcome of different procurements. And like I said earlier, it seems like procurement is just something that we've been talking about since March of last year, even before then. So thank you for coming on, BJ. I got to run.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you. There you go. Public Auditor BJ Cruz. Yeah, where's this going to go? It's pretty interesting because it's almost like this quarantine thing where the government was like, hey, we got to do what we got to do just to keep you guys safe. They're probably going to use a similar argument with this whole Hakubotan thing. It's like, hey, we needed someplace for the War Claims Processing Center. If someone offers it, we're not going to say no because it was free. We saved you guys money.
You realize this is like the third interview we've done today